Cutting grass. I got cut grass tomorrow, so that's why I came tonight.
Well, thanks for coming.
Hi guys.
I brought some
We're down in
tomatoes
Leestown,
and
too.
vegetables everybody could, if you don't have, I know you grow tomatoes, but if you don't, if yours aren't doing good.
Look back at your ancestors. Look back.
All right, we're live now. And this is Northern Neck. Let's turn this on. All right, it is day 1297, 1,297 days since January 6, 2021. It is July 26, 2024. And we've got a nice group here tonight. So we'll start off as always with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, please watch out for the families of the J6ers and give them strength and hope as their loved ones are working their way through these times, and give them the courage and the perseverance to realize that they will be reunited one day sooner than they think. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got a new t-shirt with a bling on,
Oh, I like it.
Trump 2024.
Nice,
I had to get it.
That's really good. All right, looks like we're doing good. We're live.
My dress-up shirt. I wear t-shirts all the time, so.
Yeah, nice. Trump 2024. I've got all these hats. This one is not a Trump hat, obviously, but I've got all these 2020 Trump hats that I wear around all the time because, you know, whatever, it still works.
I have flags in my car, but I have to change them out because they get all ripped up.
All right, there's a couple of updates here. As often I talk about going to the NPR website, NPR January 6th. Just put that in your search engine, National Public Radio, and this is updated typically every Friday about 5:30. Today was updated at 5:28. I just happened to be online checking it, and it refreshed right in front of me. Last time I talked, and I had forgotten to grab it off the printer, but there were three that were arrested last Friday we spoke about. One was Ronald Schultz, one was Garth Walton, and one was Amy Rebecca Willis. Amy was 59 years old, and I was reading some of the charging documents to kind of walk through how that works, and basically the first several pages are nothing but a standard rote thing that every single one of them is charged with, which it's the narrative on what January 6th was, an insurrection, blah, 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 they go on and on. And so anyway, it was interesting to me that there were 3 people arrested the week before last, okay? This week, there were 3 people arrested. Their names are Brandon Barnhill from Slidell, Louisiana. Nathan Eric Breezy, he's 38 years old, from Port Byron, New York. And Patricia Marie Wills, 56 years old, from Indianapolis, Indiana. Patricia stuck with me because, again, 56 years old. I got a picture I'm going to share with everybody. She doesn't look like a terrorist to me, but Patricia Marie Wills was arrested on July 25th in Indianapolis, Indiana. The other 2, by the way, were arrested on Wednesday, July 24th. Again, one in New Orleans and one in Syracuse, New York. So Patricia Wills' charges were entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building or grounds, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building.
Just like Palestinian protesters, huh?
Yeah, that was a.
So let me keep going with this, guys. So this is her posting that was part of the charging documents that she put out on, I guess that would have been X at the time. Still the best last-minute trip I've ever made. God put it in my heart, and I had to go. Don't know the reason, but I had to be there. Witness, 3 flags, pray for the J6 jailed. So that was a January 6, 2023 tweet. It's again one of the things that they use. And then there's photograph after photograph of her attending or walking towards the Capitol in crowds. They've got several photographs of her, what she was wearing, flag she was carrying, and so on. And then they've got photographs of her as she's approaching and going into what they consider to be the restricted area of the Capitol grounds that nobody knew because there was no sign saying so, and everybody was just going and following one another. And then she went on into the Capitol, took some photographs in there, and came out. That was it. That's what she did. So, basically, they're submitting that there's probable cause to believe that she violated 40 U.S.C. Code 5104 E, 2, D, and G, which makes it a crime to willfully and knowingly utter loud, threatening, or abusive language, or engage in disorderly or disruptive conduct at any place in the conduct of a session of Congress or either House of Congress or the disorderly conduct in that building or a hearing before or any deliberations of a committee of Congress of either House of Congress, parade, demonstrate, or picket in any of the Capitol buildings. And as I had assumed, that just triggered Maurice. Go ahead.
This is like the Salem witch trials, for God's sake.
Surely is.
You're a witch, there's no such thing. You're a witch, there's no such thing. Doesn't matter that there's no such thing. You're a witch. Stone them. This is ridiculous. I cannot believe that this stuff happens. You know, there was another lady that got arrested, and I think she got 3 years because she was praying the gospel outside of an abortion clinic. That sound familiar?
Yeah.
It's not the same one that was here for a little while, Heather. But another one did. And we're living in an upside down world, kind of sort of expected that. But this stuff is crazy, you know. Cheryl was telling me just today that they're breaking down the J-Pod up there in DC
Yeah, I have
to make
talk
it
about
all,
that.
okay, I'm gonna let you talk about that here.
Got a call from Heather Young, and she's going to put this in her newsletter, but Dominic Box from DC had called in last night and asked for a call to action. And this is really, really important. That he says, for the first time in 3.5 years, the Housing Board came in and forced everybody to sign a voluntary protective custody agreement. The people who came to tell them about this was the manager and the supervisor, and they want to put the general population into the unit so that there will no longer be J-Pod, J-Patriot Pod. It's going to be, they're going to mix them in with the murderers and the rapists and everything. And right now they have safety in numbers because they all look out for each other, but when you have other people coming in or in the same area, then they know that they're going to have to lock their doors. I mean, I know they were in jail, but they're going to have to lock their cells so that nobody goes in there to put something in there that, you know, when they do the inspections. So it's inviting conflict into the unit, and he thinks maybe it's because of they want headlines in the newspapers for things that may go wrong, and because we're getting closer to the election. So the call to action is whoever wants to call the U.S. Marshal's Office, and the number is 202-772-0301. It's 202-772-0301. Also the director of DC DOC is Thomas Faust, F-A-U-S-T, area code 202-698-4932. And if you don't feel like calling and you want to email, you could email the deputy warden, and her name is Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y .vick, V-I-C-K, V as in Victor, I-C-K, @dc.gov. So maybe he'll call in tonight to tell us about it, but it's, you can't mix. That's what they were doing over here in Northern Neck, and you can't mix. They didn't even have their trials yet. So I wanted to mention that, and also,
Can we stay on that for a minute? I have
Sure.
some questions for you. So you learned about this when? Last night's video?
last night, Dominic Box had called into the DC, and they talked about it for the 15 minutes that he's allowed, and they were all upset. They said, you know, we know that the call to actions work, because, you know, we asked for to go outside, and the next day we were able to go outside. And with this, if we have a lot of people calling and tell them that, you know, you just don't want this to happen, because that's going to lead to, it's going to invite conflict within the pod, and I think that's what they want. They want fights. They want people they want to find weapons in somebody else's cell, so they could say, oh,
They're
the
violent
J6ers
criminals.
are bad. Trump wants to pardon them in January, but look at what happened, you know. But anyway, that's what I think.
Right. So a lot of times the calls to action, you have to be careful because you might create more of a situation, but it sounds like they were pretty adamantly hoping and asking for it to be done. Is that correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Mickey and Nicole and everyone in Freedom Corner, they put it up on the screen, and they really want that to happen.
All right.
Because this is, they said, the most important call to action that you can have. You know, they don't want money, they don't want any, you know, nobody needs money, they just need to have this. They don't want to have people from the outside in their J-pod, because right now it's like
Right.
a little.
Right, we get it. So can you send that to me electronically with that little write-up that you have, and I'll send that out to our membership, along with any other updates as we get closer to. Yeah, put it on the website for sure, that's great, and we'll get it out to members.
I texted it to you, so you should have it.
Oh, okay, I haven't looked at that
And
for a
I
while.
don't know if I sent it by email, but me. So we'll see. Oh, the sentencings that are coming up, Gregory Yetman, that was already happened, July 22nd. Brian Jackson, August 6th at 10 o'clock. James Grant, August 8th at 10 o'clock. Michael Oliveris, August 9th at 9:30. David Dempsey, August 9th at 12:30. And Brian Smith, August 20th at 10 o'clock. And a few people have moved on. We know that Chris Quaglin is not in Philadelphia anymore. He's in Oklahoma City. And also David Geeson is in Oklahoma City, and Matthew DeSalva is Oklahoma City. That's about it.
Now, is Oklahoma City just a kind of a stop off, or is that a final destination?
It's a transfer center, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be moving on. Transfer center.
All right.
So they went from Philadelphia to Oklahoma City. It's not going to New Jersey.
Yeah, they're supposed to be within 500 miles, but it sounds like they're not holding to that at all. And even so, 500 miles is still a bit of a hardship, right?
How would
If
you
you're
go from there to
driving.
there? He's going out
So.
west.
All right, before we get calls, I want to just put a couple things out there. I just got this book, Jack Posobiec. Does anybody know who that is?
Jack Posobiec?
Posobiec?
Yes.
Unhumans. This is The Secret History of Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. The forward is by Steve Bannon. So it's Jack Posobiec and Joshua Lysek. You got to get this book, and I'm going to read a little bit to you from the opening of this. This just was published a week or so ago. So again, it's called Unhumans: The Secret History of Communist Revolutions and How to Crush Them. I'm going to just read you the forward by Steve Bannon. It's only 2 pages. I'm going to be needing a little interpretation here. An important and apocryphal story is often, I think I said it right, is often told about a secret meeting in Beijing in July 1971 between U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and Zhou Enlai, a leading figure in the Chinese Communist Party who served as a diplomat and the first premier of the People's Republic of China from 1954 until his death in 1976. He played a major role in the Chinese Revolution. As Kissinger recalled in his book, he asked Zhou Enlai what he thought about the success of the French Revolution. Too soon to say, Enlai replied. While the veracity of that particular story has been challenged, the message is clear. Human history is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is success not guaranteed. In Unhumans, the authors focus on the critical matter of what actually makes us human. They note that humanity only happens when you have an actual civilization, principles of civility, rules of law and order, respect for basic human rights. Great civilizations have always organized and risen from these characteristics, from the ancient world to the Roman Empire to the West today. The authors argue that it is humanity itself currently under threat. They unwrap the history of communism, a dehumanizing philosophy of oppression, of denial of human rights, and nihilism. The reader is guided around the world, revealing the stories and histories the mainstream press won't touch, from Cambodia, Nicaragua, Chile, Afghanistan, and the Soviets, to apartheid in South Africa. They bring us up right to President Donald Trump and January 6th, a day that correctly call America's inverse Bastille. That's why I'm reading this tonight. January 6th, a day they correctly call America's inverse Bastille. Jack Posobiec is a graduate of Temple University and a former naval intelligence officer. He was deployed to Guantanamo Naval Base for 10 months in 2012 and is fluent in Mandarin. Joshua Lysak is a writer with over 80 books to his credit. Together, Jack and Joshua unwrap a dazzling yet dire history of communism's impact on humanity across the globe. From the Russian Revolution to the true story of the Spanish Civil War, they describe and explain the 1950s emergence of cultural Marxism in the United States and its current resurgence. Unhuman simply refers to those Homo sapiens who seek nothing but destruction of human society, born of grievance and misery and nihilism. Unquestionably, we are in a period of this unhuman ascension. Unhumans is a clarion call to every American citizen. Be aware. Too often, the most dire and significant moments in history are only realized afterward, when civilizations are already defeated or too broken to continue. If you love this country, read this book, study this book, share this book, and understand this: the very survival of the American Republic is now on the shoulders of every American. So that was Steve Bannon, the foreword to Unhumans. And I'm only into the first chapter, but it's fascinating. I think it's really important that we understand this, because, I mean, we see this Marxism that's happening within Congress with this divisive politics, the DEI programs, everything to try to put people against one another. That's the first step, one of the first steps in Marxist communist takeover, is just getting people to hate one another. So it's important to help gauge what's going on around us right now, and I'm really excited about this.
Based on the foreword that you just read, it sounds like they've gone back in history and looked at a lot of stuff, and I've been kind of researching the same thing in ancient history. So it's not a new construct. It's been going on for a very, very long time. By the way, Mr. Posobiec's got several books out at this point, 3 of them, and I've been trying to remind myself to buy them. They're pretty good.
You just have to tell me.
Yeah,
I want them.
and I follow him on X too. He's really really out there on the front, on the leading edge of things.
So what else you got? Anything?
Todd Gardner called me today, and I asked him if there's anything that he wants me to say tonight at the vigil, and he says, everybody must get out and vote. Do not stay home, get out and vote. So I said, let everybody know that. A little early, but
That's an area that the Patriots are going to be working on. I have managed to do a little bit of research and background on this, which is figuring out how to get certified to register people to vote. I've already gone online and there's a course I have to complete, but I've kind of scanned it and see what it's going to take. But I think that's what we need to do. I get the sense that there are a lot of people. The lady says, I hate to admit it, but I've just stopped voting because I'm so disgusted with the whole process, with the Republicans and the Democrats. And so they're registered, but they're not voting. Well, there's a lot of people that aren't even registered because they just don't feel like that their voice matters. So we got to get them, and we got to get them out.
I have friends that
Yeah, I believe that that's not an accident, these people that don't want to vote. I recall an article I read in Scientific American back around the time that Al Gore won against W. Al Gore won. Yes, you heard it here, Al Gore won. But in his news article, they were pointing out that up until the year 2000, the average voter turnout in this country for a presidential election was 16%. And the discussion in the article was about why it was at 16%. And to kind of summarize and boil it all down into a couple of sentences, it was because both the Democrats and the Republicans were putting up their most extreme candidates on purpose to get low voter turnout so that they could just move on and have happen whatever it is that they wanted to happen. But this game's been going on for a very long time, and the tactics and techniques have been just that. If you divide the people's hearts, you know, most Americans, we actually live in the middle of the road. Even Democrats and Republicans alike, we all kind of like to live in the middle of the road because we know that every case is unique and it should be addressed on its own merits. But instead, the political machine that we're all fighting against has been causing division in multiple dimensions within our population, and by putting up their most extreme candidates, this is how they accomplish this. And to be honest with you, our voter turnout is still too low, and yet I see people every day saying, oh, I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna vote. I'm like, so you might as well just stick a white flag out in your front yard.
well, the Democrats, they can stay home.
They might. They might.
They can all stay home, I don't care.
All right, this is a post that I wanted to throw out for discussion. Another one I follow on Twitter X, Awakened Outlaw. And this is something I don't know a lot about, so I'm hoping somebody here will kind of help fill in. 3 times now, Biden, who has revoked a bunch of Trump's executive orders, has re-upped number 13848, the election interference emergency order, first enacted in September of 2018. If you're familiar with the EO, the election emergency order, and the fact that the deep state globalist cabal relies on cheating, not just here in the US, but worldwide, as the rule and not the exception, then you have to ask yourself why he'd keep doing so. Let me finish it up. Frankly, it makes 0 sense as it represents the legal infrastructure vehicle necessary to nail all their asses to the proverbial wall, as it grants broad prosecutorial powers against foreign actors meddling in US elections, which is exactly what's been going on. Yet he continued to do so, reauthorize it. Here's where it gets interesting, because it's due for renewal in September, basically a month before the election. Now, what we don't know is if Biden will even be POTUS come September, but if it's Kamala temporarily in place because Joe stepped down, will she similarly re-up the order? And if so, why? Why would she do that? Makes you wonder who's really in control, as this keeps the entire deep state election rigging machine squarely in the sights of those working to secure our future behind the scenes and when it matters most. Something to keep an eye on for sure. My bet is it will be regardlessly re-upped.
It will be. And this is a topic that folks need to really seriously think about. when you look at your enemy and you know that they're aware that you have them in your sights, I use that phrase because Joe Biden did, you would think that they would not want to use your rules to go by when you have this 13848. That's not just about foreign interference, it also includes domestic interference. So why would they do that? Well, look what they've already done. We've got a two-tier justice system that inverts almost everything. We can look back at the 2016 election, and they accused Donald Trump of that which they were guilty of doing, and we were later able to prove that. Well, now they've got a tool in that executive order to say, well, you cheated, even if you didn't. But all they got to do is say so, say that they're kicking in that particular executive order, and even though they're the ones that cheated, they'll point the finger at the other side and run the course. That's exactly the way that's going to happen, and that's why they keep doing it.
Well, they're certainly great at accusing the other side of doing what they actually do themselves. So
absolutely, absolutely. But I was early on, a little bit before 2000, before November of 2000 or 2020. I saw that executive order and I thought, I'm not sure that was a good idea. It's already illegal. You didn't need to do that. But that one, and there's a couple of them up there in the 13.912s and there's a few of them that keep getting re-upped, and if you don't really try to dissect it, it's really difficult to see it, because you want to just look at it and go, why would somebody do that? Because it's going to go against them, because we know that they cheat.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with there's power contained within it that they're not maybe planning to use right now, but ultimately are going to want to have it at their fingertips.
Absolutely.
Before the election.
That's the point.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that. Cheryl, do you want to talk about this note from David Geetson? You sent that earlier in the week.
I did. I don't want to talk about it because he might know more about it.
So David Geetson sent this subject was about after, in all capital letters, after the election politics. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just try to give you the gist of it. Let's imagine the highly likely scenario of Trump returning to office and the J6ers getting pardoned. Has anyone started organizing about prison reform demands for that specific time period? The topic of prison reform is much larger than just what happens to J6ers, but once the J6ers get out, that's going to be perhaps the most average people ever knowing, it's going to be the most average people ever knowing the reality of U.S. prisons at one time than any other. If there was ever a time for sweeping changes to be made in the prison system, that would be by far the best time politically to strike while the iron's hot. It needs to happen while J6ers are somewhat fresh out of prison. So has there been any movement on this? And he goes on, and I'll just leave it at that.
In and amongst ourselves, we've actually talked about this a little bit, because we see laws getting passed here in the state of Virginia that are not helping the local prisoners. And in fact, we know, how do I say this? As a point of bureaucratic management, laws that are written and on their face would appear to benefit the prisoners end up harming them. We've got issues with communications in laws that are happening now in the state of Virginia that are going to end up hurting the prisoners. But that's just one little teeny tiny grain of sand on this beachfront. Early on, when Cheryl and I started coming to these vigils, one of the first things that we noticed is that for the first time in American history, we have prisoners that are in the system that have a voice. And they're speaking out, and they're talking about what's happening to them. And what's happening to them, and we see it not just in the jail systems and the prison systems, but in the court systems. We've seen all of it. Never before in our history have this many people been aware. And it just kind of makes sense that the follow-on to supporting the J6ers while they're going through it is to capitalize on everything that all of us collectively have learned and been witness to, and take that to the state capitals and the feds and everywhere else to demand change. It has to happen because it can't go on this way. Like I was saying before, just 6 or 8 months ago, we were being told by J6ers that other inmates that had nothing to do with January 6th were thanking them. And also, some of the guards up there in the DC Gulag were like, you know, you guys are doing okay. And this is a case of leadership by example. And these guys, anybody that showed up there that day is a leader. They showed up in there because they didn't want to sit by. It's lead, follower, get out of the way, and these guys showed up. So they're natural leaders to begin with. You throw them in this environment, they're making changes in the hearts and minds of other non-J6 prisoners, the guards, and even though management doesn't like it, that's referencing the earlier call to action. This is a road that we have to go on, because we can't convince ourselves that we're the freest nation in the world and let this stuff go on for people that don't have a voice.
Well, Maurice, thank you I think you're right, spot on with that. And while you were talking, I was looking up the status of, we talked about this at last vigil, HR 3019, which is the Federal Prison Oversight Act. And this article that I had printed out and read from was a group called Prison Fellowship. So back to David's point, there are a lot of organizations who have been quietly working behind the scenes for the probably overly represented section of our society that's in jail. They've been making somewhat, slow progress because of that very fact, because it's just not in people's radar. Even though, who is it that used to talk about the number of people, 1 in 20 people have someone that's in jail? Remember who that was?
Oh yeah, that was Janatakis.
Janatakis, yeah.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to look up those facts, but
He was saying 1 in 31 people is incarcerated, 1 in 25 children has an incarcerated parent.
So, according to this website, this bill was signed into law yesterday, July 25th, by President Joe, Biden. So, he is in that role, right? So anyway, that's good news. I think that's a good one. Maybe we can send back to him. You could respond back, and if you want me to send you this article, I can. But that's helpful. And I think the answer is, yeah, we've got to start networking, building the networks with these people that are already doing this kind of work. Especially a lot of the churches and other organizations that are really big on it.
Maybe for the ones that actually have a public-facing announcement when they have meetings, we should start attending.
So I haven't responded to him yet. I'll give the hard emails to Maurice to respond to.
It feels kind of warm in here, doesn't it?
It does.
I've got the air turned on, but I didn't mess with this one on this side. I only did the other one.
Oh, you gotta do it both.
I'm good.
So, I see lots of, I monitor Truth Social and Twitter, X, Twitter, X. Split identity. We have some people that tweet like they used to, and everybody else is doing X. There's an awful lot of, for lack of a better term, I'll call them paid shills. They never present any argument. All they do is throw insults. Kind of like my kids used to do when they were 10 or 12 years old. And honestly, they're losing. They're losing. There in the corner and you stomp your feet and you do whatever it is you're doing. We don't care anymore. Just go away.
I don't know actually where you might want to just write that down. That's where this article is. So did they have any trouble last night making calls out?
There weren't many.
That's an article from Morning Star. I've got it right here.
Writing it all down, yes, right there.
Got it?
He has it pulled up on his phone already.
Good. All right, guys. Hope they get some calls here soon. I've got something else I wanted to talk about. This is shifting topics a little bit back to the assassination. I follow U.S. Congressman Morgan Griffith. He's Virginia's 9th district. He puts out a newsletter every Friday afternoon. I think every Friday. I think it's weekly. Anyway, he's a really intelligent guy, and he or his staffers put together a lot of really historical information. By the way, Bedford, Virginia is in that district. Bedford's where the World War II memorial is, I believe. And Bedford had some of the highest casualties in World War II of any small community in the country. So that's fascinating. But the reason I follow Morgan Griffith is because I attended the whistleblower hearing in Washington, D.C. He sat on it, and this was the National Guard people that spoke about what actually happened on January 6th and whether or not they were given authorization, whether they were ready, and they basically testified to Congress that they were told they were not given the authorization to go. They knew they were ready, but for some reason it never came. So this is again Morgan Griffith, who performed very well on that panel, asking questions of these gentlemen. And so I've kind of kept an eye on him ever since. So this is his weekly newsletter. Its subject is Assassination History. Like you, I was shocked by the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. This latest assassination attempt of a president is nothing new to American history books. One of America's most renowned presidents, Abraham Lincoln, was victim of a cold-hearted tragedy. As the Union Army neared victory in the U.S. Civil War, an actor with pro-South leanings decided to hatch a plot to assassinate Lincoln. The actor carried out his plan on Good Friday, April 14, 1865. Lincoln, with his wife and members of his cabinet, attended Ford's Theater for a play. The actor entered Lincoln's suite, where he shot Lincoln in the back of the head. President James Garfield became the second American president to succumb to the tragic fate of assassination. A campaign worker who helped Garfield's 1880 election campaign wanted a foreign embassy position. He never received the desired appointment and decided to kill Garfield. He shot Garfield twice at a local D.C. train station. Garfield died months later from infection complications. In September of 1901, Republican President William McKinley attended a New York exposition to meet members of the public. An anarchist who held contempt for American capitalism had other ideas. He stood in a line of fairgoers before shooting McKinley twice in the abdomen. A mob descended on the shooter, to which McKinley allegedly quipped, "Go easy on him, boys." McKinley's passing 8 days later thrusted Vice President Theodore Roosevelt into the presidency. Roosevelt served out the rest of McKinley's term and won re-election in 1904. He decided not to seek another term in 1908 and supported William Howard Taft for president, but in 1912 reversed course and challenged Taft. On his way to a campaign event for the Bull Moose Party, Roosevelt faced near death. On October 14, 1912, Roosevelt was shot once in the chest. The bullet inflicted minimal damage. While it did penetrate his skin, Roosevelt's dense overcoat, steel-reinforced eyeglass case, and printed speech provided enough of a shield to block the bullet from reaching his heart. The shooter also faced the wrath of those around him, to which Roosevelt responded, "Don't hurt him, bring him here. What did you do it for?" The shooter allegedly did not answer. Roosevelt then insisted on going to a campaign event where he would give a speech. Roosevelt quipped, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose." Only after the campaign event did he seek medical attention. Roosevelt's relative, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also survived an assassination attempt. Then President-elect Roosevelt stood on the back of a vehicle in Miami, Florida in February 1933, giving a speech before an alleged anti-capitalist discharged his gun. The shooter hit 5 people, but not Roosevelt. Much controversy surrounds President John F. Kennedy's assassination. The suspect had a history of communist leanings, which included defecting to the Soviet Union and supporting Cuba's Fidel Castro. A man whose loan had been turned down by the Small Business Administration accused the Nixon administration of conspiring to oppress the poor, killed a policeman and a pilot while attempting to hijack a plane and crash it into the White House. Security foiled his plans. Nixon's successor, President Gerald Ford, faced 2 such attempts on his life in a span of 17 days. A female Manson family cult follower and a female radical who admitted to her interest in bringing a violent revolution to America both failed in their attempts to kill Ford. Ford was a witness in one of his assailants' trials. Ford became the first U.S. president to testify at a criminal trial. Ford's presidential museum now displays the weapon used in the assault. The last major assassination attempt of the 20th century involved President Ronald Reagan, who was shot outside the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. Thankfully, Reagan survived the attempt. His shooter tried to impress actress Jodie Foster. As a result of some would-be assassins trying to impress the public or gain notoriety, I have left out the names of all the attackers. As of this writing, questions remain unanswered on the 21st century's first U.S. assassination attempt, the one on Donald Trump. How did the gunman manage to penetrate security and get on top of the roof? What were the shooter's motives? Congress must hold vigorous investigations to ensure something like this never happens again. Not only do we owe it to the future political leaders, but we owe it to the American people. Again, that's Congressman Morgan Griffith from District 9.
Why is it all, especially now there's other information coming out over the latest assassination? Somebody that's unhinged that goes into a school and starts shooting children like fish in a barrel. And then we find out that the authorities knew about this individual in advance, never did anything about it. They don't answer the questions of how somebody that's probably unemployable manages to buy a weapon that costs thousands of dollars. We don't know how that works. They go into, and it's not just shootings. We had one guy go in a number of years ago trying to blow up a movie theater full of people. That didn't go well. Why is it always just one guy? I'm just not buying it. I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to be looked into. So I did try to stay current on some of the hearings that were going on. So Cheadle, what's her name? Kim Cheadle was Monday morning. She testified, and it was a nothing burger. She didn't give any kind of information whatsoever. Nancy Mace tore her up and down. Several of them really did a great job. And then the next day she's resigned. So
whatever it takes, man.
Yeah.
And then was it Ray on Tuesday?
Yeah.
I didn't watch Ray, but I don't really.
That was the most
Say anything
frustrating.
either. Just say anything. No, saying.
Okay.
Yeah, he's towed the line.
Yep.
Although he did, apparently he slipped at some point. Basically, he's the one that let it out that there was more than one shooter. It's like, and he didn't mean to either.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from
Hey, James.
an inmate at the Washington DC Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, your current balance is $13.23. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hey, James.
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Hey, we just.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I got cut short a little bit. Someone else was, one of the other J6ers was haranguing me to get on. So I was upset I had to cut it a little short, but ever the peacemaker, I cut it short. But, yeah, no, it's great to be here. It's great to talk to you guys. Hope everything is good out there in Warsaw, Virginia. How's everything going out there?
It's going well. It's going well. It was a nice, pleasant day. The temperature was a little lower, and yeah, it's a Friday, so things are good. What about you?
Things are good. We got Trump. Yeah, no. Good and bad. So they moved my sentencing back against my wishes. It was supposed to be August 8th, August 8th. So that would be 13 days from today. But they against my wishes. I mean, I have speculations that maybe the government wasn't as prepared as they liked, which I don't know, maybe not, because it was supposed to be June 13th, so it was pushed back. I had them push it back 2 months because I wanted, the resolution. I had an inkling that the 1512 was going away, so, I went to trial and I was convicted of the 1512, so I figured I would just wait an extra couple weeks and figure out what happened with that. The second biggest charge I have remaining is about to be overturned by the Supreme Court. So of course I felt like I had to wait for that, and it looks like it will be overturned as I didn't touch any documents or destroy any documents. So that would put me at 5 out of 9. That would be 5 felonies that would be acquitted of. So that would be really good.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to going to sentencing on August 8th. I think one of the few people that have had some success going to trial. So it's going to be interesting, Tom. I don't know too much what to expect, but I've been down for almost 31 months now. By the time I go to sentencing in September 19th is the current date. By the time I go then, I'll have gone to trial, been acquitted of, if 1512 is dropped, I'll have been acquitted of most charges, and I'll have 32 months under my belt. So I gotta think, I'm almost there. God, I hope so.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
yeah, so, yeah, it's been a long ride. And, the times when I think back to Northern Neck, is I think I'm actually,
James?
I was,
You're cutting out a little bit,
A lot of it.
a lot. Are you there?
Like,
Go
I
on.
cannot hear you. Oh, darn.
He could have a bad, James, you might have a bad, headphone or something, or your mic might be bad, or might not be plugged in.
Can you hear us? Well, you're not gonna be able to hear.
If we can't hear him, how would we be able to tell him?
Tap.
He's still on. That's all. He's still on. So we'll give him a minute.
A lot of calls get dropped at DC too, for no reason.
Yeah, but it's not dropped.
Yeah.
It's just silenced.
He could have run out of battery. He could have been anything. Yeah. So September 19th. That's a big change. That's wow.
6 more weeks later,
Mhm.
from August 8th.
Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
August 8th.
Give up
is
the
September
ghost.
19th.
So he cut it off.
Well,
I don't know that he cut it off. It just.
it happens.
Well, I mean, he finally got
Disconnected, yeah.
Oh,
you had
maybe
to.
he decided he couldn't hear us. It was time.
Yeah, you
Time
don't
to
waste
go.
his
It
minutes.
happens all the
Yeah,
time.
that's right.
You don't
Well,
waste
we're down
those
to
minutes.
$13. I mean,
Yeah.
that'll carry us through tonight. I think.
Yeah.
Usually does. It's only a few bucks.
I don't think he could call back for 15 more minutes if he
He can do whatever, I mean, they're not charged, that's my charge.
I thought you have to wait, they have to wait a certain period of time between calls. I don't know. I could make things up too.
Yeah, because Chris Quadlin called back to back to back one time, I remember that.
That's what I heard at one time.
He did, he was funny.
Or they gotta, wait in line their time, their turn.
I bet he had
It's
people
not like
riding.
they're not sitting at a payphone though, they're calling from their tablets, is what they're doing.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So do they have like a queue, that they wait for their queue, so it's their turn, or wow?
They talk amongst themselves and figure out, so in the past.
Holler, cell to cell?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're out in the open pod, but,
Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate at the Washington,
They said it
D.C.
would be
Central
fine.
Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, hang up or press your current balance is $12.78. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
hello?
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Sorry
James.
to come up. I had someone else call, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I was spitting too much truth. They wanted to cut me off. But,
You stayed on, I mean, the line was live for a while, we couldn't tell if you were hearing us or not, but we heard nothing.
yeah, no, it cut me right off. I was in the middle of the pod. Usually don't lose Wi-Fi there. But
So,
yeah, my sentencing date has been moved, so I'll be in the January 6er pod for a little while longer. But we do have a serious matter, and I think everyone's going to broach it a little bit, but some crazy stuff is happening. So we've had the January 6th pod, because, we're in the D.C. jail, which is one of the most dangerous jails, if not the worst jail in the country, if you're in the bad part of it. And when you first come here, you spend a week in the bad part of the jail for quarantine. Although the deaf inmate, Vitaly Gosch-Janikowski, was not taken over there. They took him straight here. They probably knew it would be a bad recipe. He's deaf. He doesn't have hearing aids or anything. So they probably knew that would be a terrible idea to put him over there. And so he came straight here. But the rest of us, we had to spend a week over in the nightmare part of the jail. And I don't know what you've heard, but it is, first of all, there's noise almost 24/7. The only time you can maybe sleep is 6 to, after breakfast range, there's a little bit of quiet. But I mean, it is like constant yelling. I think I told you the story about the Joker, who, it's just some crap, why so serious, who flooded his toilet when Logan Tate and I were over there, Curtis Tate. But yeah, so you spend a week over in the hellish part of the jail, and then you come here. But basically, they're trying to make this part of the jail like that part of the jail. So we have a really serious call to action. They came in with forms. So they every week or so, they have, I think it might be actually once a month, but they have these 2 women come in, and they have you sign on to, because we're all technically an involuntary PC. And they say that we're high profile, so we sign a form saying, I agree to this, we're high profile. You can sign it or not, it doesn't matter, you're going to stay here regardless. But this time, 2 days ago, they brought in forms, and the form said, I hereby, inmate, and they had all of our names, inmate so-and-so, asked to be removed from involuntary PC and to go to general population.
what's PC? Involuntary PC?
Yeah, involuntary protective custody.
Okay.
And yeah, so they had us, they had this already printed out with all of our names on it. So basically, no one asked for it, but they had it printed out like we had asked for it. So I don't know if they were hoping that a couple of us signed it, or I don't know what they were expecting, but no one had requested that. But they had it printed out for every inmate. So we all refused to sign it. We said we're not going to sign that. We made sure everyone knew not to. One guy did sign it. He said he wanted to call the bluff, Brian Smith. So we'll see what's going on with that. I don't know. He's a jokester. But we'll see. It's a big joke. He's like, I'm calling their bluff. I was like, this might be a time to fold. This is not a good bluff to call.
No.
General population here is not somewhere where you want to be.
Is he still with you? Is Brian?
Yeah, he's still here as of now. Yeah.
All right.
When did you
And
sign this?
there's not really moves over the weekend, so we're not expecting it. But that same day, you know, we all stayed out and they brought in ERT, Emergency Response Team, which are the guys that rough you up if there's a fight, they come busting in and, you know, or stabbing or something. These are the guys that come in that love violence and they come in. You know, there's some nice ones, but they're the Emergency Response Team in the DC jail. So they've seen, not to get sued by farmers, but these guys have seen a thing or two. So they all came in with the higher ups in the white shirts. And they all came in and they said, you know, what's the problem? We explained it to them. So the security detail, Officer Hayes, or it might be a sergeant, he's pretty high up. But Hayes came in and he said he hadn't been informed of this. And that they hadn't ran it by security, who's in charge of, obviously, security. So that not to worry about it, nothing's going to happen. And then we find out today, I think 1 or 2 days later, that they are now trying to run it by security. And I guess their plan, so right now this unit could potentially, it's got I think 40, it could hold up to 90 if there's 2 to a cell. And they said there's about 23 J6ers. They are going to try to make this their excuse, even though it's been going on for 3.5 years that J6ers have their own unit. And they're not wrong to do that because, you know, there would be madness if we were allowed to, you know, if they tried to mix this with the other inmates. This jail is just madness, you know, it's held together by Band-Aids and bubblegum. And it just, it would not go well. And they're trying to bring of the inmates the absolute worst of the worst. You know, you don't go on protective custody outside of being a January 6er unless you're cooperating, you know, you're some kind of a snitch or a sex offender, a pedophile, or there's a rare cases where I guess if you owe someone money or you have debts or something. But for the most part, it's people that are either going to, just offenses against nature, or are looking to, get out of their sentence by cooperating against someone else. And, we're high-profile cases, and so that would endanger us physically, as well as just bringing offensive people in here. And I think the political differences are already going to be, we're not going to be starting out on the right foot. Now, a lot of the inmates we get along with, but the dynamic in here is not going to be good. And they are attempting to do this as of now. So we are absolutely instituting a call to action to you guys. And you guys are our trump card. You're what makes us strong is the support we have with the outside. And so, for example, we weren't getting outdoor rec. And this Tuesday, we called into the various vigils and we reached out to our people. The next day, we had outdoor rec, and we had outdoor rec today, the next 2 out of the next 3 days. So you guys are what gets things done, and we can't do it without you guys. We put in a ton of grievances about not getting outdoor rec, didn't do a thing. We need help from the outside, and that's the only way. So we need you guys, and we need your help to tell them this would not be a good idea, to tell them that they will be held liable, if anything happens. And I don't know how you guys do it, but you always do it, and you always do it well. But we absolutely need your guys' help because they are trying to bring in really bad elements into the unit. We already foresee problems, and this would actually endanger us if we went to prison. The fact that if you're expected to be around chomos and snitches, that's not going to fly well in prison. You're expected in prison to not tolerate that, I guess I'll say. So the fact that they're expecting us to tolerate that is putting us in jeopardy in a number of ways. Not only our cases, but our safety now and in the future. And I really don't understand what prompted this, Tom, because, it's been like this. I don't know exactly when this unit started, but it's been at roughly 3.5 years of just the J6 bond. I remember hearing about it in Northern Neck, and I said, oh, God, that sounds amazing. I would love to be there as I was languishing in Northern Neck. But it's going on for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
I think it was February it started.
So
I don't know what's making them change it now.
Well, that's when you were talking to the supervisor who said, "No, don't worry about it." Did he give any kind of explanation for what was going on, or he just tried to tell you that it wasn't happening?
Well, what I've gathered from other inmates, and because I went to my cell, they told them, that 2 inmates were designated to talk to them, so we let those 2 inmates handle it. But off the record, I think they're might have said something about the grievances, because we're the only unit that in both files the grievances. And it's weird timing. I don't know if they think Trump is unstoppable, they want to punish us. I heard something about that. I'm gonna let others who heard that directly talk about it. But we have inklings that it's something about Trump, Trump's looking good, and it could just be general revenge. Again, I'm gonna let the people talk about that. I heard that directly, but other people will know more. But I'm not too up on the reasons. I wasn't one of the people that talked to them. The two that talked to them, and I think they should be talking to you guys tonight, is Dominic Fox and David Dempsey. I can put David Dempsey on right now to tell you why they're doing this, and I'm gonna put him on real quick. He just put his headphones down.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, do you want Northern Neck? I didn't hear, but tell them why they're doing it.
Hello. Hey, David.
Hey, David.
Hey, how's it going out there?
Good, good.
So, to give you a quick rundown of essentially, through word of mouth from some of the guards, some of the higher ups that are, all right, decent human beings that trying to get in, some of the case managers who, have a conscience and a soul and a heart. Essentially, the reasoning behind this is that there is what they deem a staff shortage, a spacing issue. Is the reasoning that they're using for the public face of what they're trying to do. When in actuality, what it is since this unit puts out more grievances and holds their feet to the fire, than any other part of the jail combined, that they want to find a way to prevent us from being able to do that. So the filing the grievances and the fact that Trump was not murdered on July 13th is basically through what one of the guards told me that one of the higher ups said is, if Trump doesn't, since Trump didn't die, we're going to pay the price, is what was reiterated to me. Now, I don't know if those were the exact words, but that was essentially the gist of what was said. They are extremely upset. I've heard 3 different guards personally, say, so a white shirt and 2 random guards say that the worst part about, when that shit happened last Saturday was Trump not dying. So this is the mindset of these people who dislike us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They say, oh, we're not trying to put child molesters, we're not trying to do that to you. Why would we do that? Well, who are the people that seek protective custody? I've been in prison before. I've always been in GP. This situation is new to me for the administrative segregation, which is essentially voluntary protective custody. But people who seek protective custody are sex offenders and snitches. Those are the people that seek these types of services, because otherwise you just go to general population. You wouldn't have to worry about it. But they know that through all, the media sound bites and through all the issues that they've caused personally by labeling us Klan members, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, people who despise black people simply because they're black, and other, bullshit stories that they try to push, to the populace here, which is nearly like 100% black, that if you tell somebody a lie enough times, they begin to believe it.
Yep.
Right.
So they have people convinced that we're like actual members of the Klan. Like I've heard that. I had a dude ask me that. He's like, "Hey man, is it true y'all from the Ku Klux Klan?" He would say that to me at court one day. And I looked at him I was like, "Are you fucking serious, bro?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, that's what they be saying about y'all." And I had to go into a 2-hour conversation with the guy to convince him and tell him, that's a lie, bro. This is coming from people who don't like us.
Right.
It's not true. And so They know this shit's coming to an end. They know that, you know, Camel Toe Harris ain't going nowhere. Ed Rod's not winning the presidency. They know Trump is going to win, and they know that this is coming to an end. So they're trying to do everything they can in their power to make that happen.
Wow.
They know that we've coexisted amongst each other because and have been the least problematic unit in the history of this jail's conception. There's been, I think, 7 physical altercations.
You have 1 minute remaining.
7 physical altercations in 3.5 years. No stabbing, no weapons, no assault on staff, no drug use, no overdoses, none of that stuff. And now they're trying to integrate us with the people who they know that we disagree with politically, and people who have a, you know, misguided perception of who we actually are.
Just call them what they are,
And
racist.
they're not going to want to talk about it or
That's
have a
what they are.
conversation because they're going to be convinced in their minds. And that's
Yeah.
what they're trying to do to us. They're trying to get us screwed off. And they're trying to get us, you know, messed up, hurt, or worse before we go to where we're headed, or having that follow us to where we're going.
Right, right. Wow. So what the form they wanted you to sign, was it a getting rid of your voluntary protective custody?
Yes.
No, they're trying to make it so we are, so you volunteer for it, and then if you don't, then they put you in general population, and if you do sign it, then it follows you to prison.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
All right. That makes more sense now to me.
That's a big thing that.
You don't want to be labeled as having had protective custody, as he said. That's what rapists
Voluntary
and
protective custody.
yeah,
Okay.
they request that kind of thing. So that having that on your record in and of itself,
Labels you a snitch or
Yeah.
a
It's dangerous.
pedophile or it's something to be killed. How's that?
yeah, wow, that's just crazy though. That now, yeah, that could be coming from on high, way higher up.
Yeah.
Like
second,
way higher up.
20-year-old up to shooting Trump.
To try to create havoc, you know, create a problem. That's what they're going to ramp up everything.
It's another
Yeah.
setup.
It's kind of like what we were talking about with 13848. So throw them in with these people in a mixed population, there will be violence, and the J6 prisoners will be blamed for it.
That's right. Those racists.
They will get charges added on top of their thing.
Yeah.
So again,
If they're allowed
I'm
to
gonna
survive
repeat
Yeah,
the
Chris
telephone
Plant does
numbers.
that.
You want to use the mic?
So the call to action, the numbers to call to try to help these guys is the U.S. Marshal's Office. It's 202-772-0301. Another place to call is Director of DC DOC, Thomas Faust, F-A-U-S-T. Number is 202-698-4932. Or if you prefer to email the Deputy Warden, the number or the address is Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y .vick, V as in Victor, I-C-K, @dc.gov. So if we call or email, say that this is not a good idea, that's what we gotta do.
When we get another one, we got to talk to him too about when to end the call to action.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, your current balance is $11.
Even?
Couldn't do that again.
8 cents.
Oh, 8 cents.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Hello.
Hi there, this is Cheryl from Northern Neck.
Hey Cheryl, this is Josh Atwood.
Hey Josh,
Hey,
how
Josh.
you doing?
Hey Tom, how's it going everyone?
Doing good, good. We got a nice little crowd. There's 5 of us here this evening, and a lot of people online. So, yeah, what's up?
That's fantastic.
Today's been a very interesting day from the talk of them integrating other people from different units into our unit. And then on top of that, I had a visit today with two individuals. One, her name was Stephanie, and then the other was Wee Wee. And we had some really wonderful talks, and it was very interesting to see and meet strangers from, a different country, and sitting there talking to them and listening to their stories and then sharing, my story. I've never seen a stranger have an experience. You could see the pain that they were feeling for what all of us were going through. It was very enlightening, and it touched my heart to, just to see the support and the care that, a stranger could show for us, because a lot of them, they come from another country, like China, and they actually have seen real communist countries, and felt the grip of tyranny firsthand. And for them to be here and realize what everybody was fighting for and stood up for, and it was just, I don't know, it just really, really touched my heart to see that. Then you come back here and they're like, yeah, they're wanting to put sex offenders in our unit, murderers and all these gang members and all this different stuff. And it's just like, what an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, imagine. Hey, go back to your visitors. Are they some of the people that go to the vigils up there? How did you connect with them? That sounds so cool.
Yes. So they go to the vigils, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that they are part of the Chinese MAGA group, that go. I think they're from Philadelphia, New York, and Jersey area. Okay. And the ladies were telling me that they literally go door to door. They drive into Pennsylvania. I guess last week they were working in Buck County, Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania. I haven't been there. And they go door to door and they talk about Trump and why people should vote for Trump. And then they talk about the J6 community. And it's just like, wow, I cannot believe that, they're working this hard and, to try to, save America is what they're saying. And they were like, we're just small little people, and, we can't stand up and fight like you guys were able to do, and we just really appreciate you doing that so much, and they're like, but we're able to talk to people and, all this stuff. And they go, we go to some doors, there's a lot of hatred in their heart where they're like, Trump don't even like foreigners, and they're like, yes he does. He cares about all of us. He just wants us to go through the correct channels when we come here, not just flood the borders and, come in illegally and then get, praised for it and put in nice hotels and stuff. There's a process, and a lot of the processes that we went through took a long time, a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in essence, and we think everybody should do that, because the lady told me, she goes, anything that comes easy goes easy. No. And with this country, if you're just automatically granted, citizenship, it's not like you've earned it in a way. And whenever it comes to liberties and freedoms this country has to offer, you're likely to let those freedoms and liberties go away because you don't understand what it was like to work for them.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. I was just like, wow. I was like, that's such a good point that you have,
Yeah.
And whenever I've never had a stranger cry for me and tell me that they love me like that, and it just it really, really meant a lot to me. And I can't wait for my children to get older so I can tell them about that. I can't wait for everyone I meet. I'm just gonna tell them that about what I've experienced and how other countries care about us. And even though they might be from communist China, it doesn't mean that they agree about the way of their countries, and that's why they're here. And I just thought everything they were doing was beautiful. And, you know, one of the ladies, she seemed a little bit older, and I know how precious time is, and that's how she's spending her time. She said her and her husband hasn't went on a vacation in the last 7 years because they've been trying to save America. I'm just, do what?
I was just saying the same thing to Cheryl and I.
Yeah, trying to save America.
Yeah, that's why I try to make sure I call in and tell you guys that we appreciate everything you guys are doing, because without you guys, we don't have a voice, and, you know, without all the supporters and the people paying attention and watching, we'd be forgotten.
Yeah.
And it'd be like in everything that we've went through and our families have went through would, in essence, be for nothing, because if, you know, the people aren't sticking together, divided we fall, united we stand.
Right.
And I've never felt more of that in my life than what I'm going through now.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I'll tell you this much. I know from years ago, I worked with an immigrant who he fled Iran when the Shah fell. And I mean, literally with his wife and their few belongings they could carry with them, and they left. And he was one of the most patriotic people I ever met. He had a flag in his car at all times, a small flag, and he was very proud of the work it took for him to go through the citizenship exam and the celebration that they have when those people actually graduate. It's just it's heartwarming to think that people from outside of our country have a better understanding of our freedoms and appreciation for it sometimes.
They absolutely do.
Than our own people.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, great.
It's something to be thought about. That's for sure. That's why, like I was saying, like my children, my oldest is 5, and I'm gonna make sure they do them. They're gonna be like, "Oh, Dad," with another one of his Patriot stories. But they're gonna be able to finish my sentences.
That's right.
Whenever I go on those little conversations about all that stuff, and I'm gonna make sure that whenever it comes to foreigners and different people that don't look like them, that they have a love and a respect for them, and you know that's an important value that they have, just to look at people as people.
Keep good notes so that you remember all the stories.
You got a point there. I was just telling the other guys, I'm like, man, I go and I talk to this person, and then I talk to this person, and by the time I get to the 5th person, I start blending all the stories.
Yeah, it's like playing telephone when you're young, right?
Right.
Start off at the beginning and see what it comes out at the end.
Well,
I remember that game, and I probably have messed up the storyline a lot.
well, you know, here's the beauty of this. You at least you're on record on YouTube, and tell your family and friends to go on YouTube and look up Northern Neck Patriots, and they can hear your words directly.
Yeah, I had called Brittany. I told her, I was like, I'm not sure exactly, you know, how to find it, but I told her the Northern Neck Visual, and she's pretty clever and witty, so she probably found it. I hope she's listening to me, and if she is, I want her to know that taking care of those 3 babies by herself is not an easy thing, and that I'm so proud of her, and that I couldn't have a better woman by my side, and those babies couldn't have a better mother. So I'll be home as soon as I can, and just to hang in there.
Yeah.
And I love her so much. She's just been a blessing. I thought with all this going on that you know, she might get mad at me or whatever. And she's like, "How can I be mad at you? You're standing up for your country. You're standing up for what you believe in." And then, you know, I was sitting in that prosecutor's room, or in the courtroom, and the prosecutor in Pittsburgh looked at me and goes, because they were talking, my public defender at the time was talking that I have children and stuff, and then the prosecutor stood up and she goes, if he cared anything about his children, he wouldn't have went to the Capitol that day. And I didn't say anything, but I'm like, wow, you know, I do care. I care about my children, everybody.
You were there because you do care about your children.
And that's why I was there.
And their
You know,
future.
It got instigated and blown out of proportion and all that stuff. But, you know, I did go there with love in my heart, and I didn't mean for the thing to happen that it did, but, you know.
Yep.
I've never been one to run or back away from anything, you know?
Yeah. Well, you and many, and I would say probably 99% of the people that were there for the same reason, to come to redress their grievances and have their voices heard, and that's what it was. So, yeah, I'm not surprised they twisted that one around on you.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more twists and turns along the way. And all that keeps getting shoved down my throat is take a plea deal, take a plea deal, take a plea deal. And it's just like,
That's when you know they're in the wrong.
I don't know about all this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Just want it all to be over, and I want to be sitting in the backyard and holding my baby girl Noseline and watching my son and my daughter run around the backyard and play with their chickens. And I want to watch the sunset, and I want to hear those frogs croaking and the crickets chirping, and I want to hear the crackling of the fire. I want to hear every once in a while my neighbor's horses sneeze.
Yeah.
I just want all of that back, you know.
Wow. Hey, tell you what, I mean, it makes us stop and appreciate those moments a little bit more. Anybody who's listening,
Right.
the fact that you can't have those right now, then you've got to wait for that. So that's the important stuff in life.
I'm looking forward to it. Today was the first time in a while that I was able to go outside. And I took my shoes and socks off, and I walked around in the grass. And I had the wind blowing on my skin. People were like, "Hey, come play basketball," and I'm like, you know, I just really want to
Enjoy the moment.
the fresh air, and the feel of the grass on my feet right now.
Hey man, that's a grounding effect. You know, you got to get grounded when you can. I'm so glad you were able to do that.
Yeah, it's needed. It's really needed, and I feel a lot better. I've had a good day other than worrying about people that are going to come to the block. You know, I really don't want to be around people that hurt kids or women or that, you know, murdered people or whatever. And I know that's a reality of me going to different prisons and stuff. But it's like, you know, if somebody starts talking about how they hurt a kid or something like that, it's really going to bother me. It's really going to affect me. And I just hope I don't have to be around people that. I hope by the time that happens, we're all, you know, out of here and back home.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, we've got the call to action. We're putting it out, and we're going to do what we can to help. So.
Yeah, please call the U.S. Marshals, call Congress, call anyone that you think can make.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Jesus, I wish we could just keep talking.
Yeah.
Feels so bad.
Yeah.
But I love you guys a lot, and I really appreciate everything you guys are doing.
We'll give out your Give Send Go when you get off, so people can donate.
I think it's support the Atwood or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I want to have Brittany get a hold of you guys, just so that way she can hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on life and have an adult conversation. Because I know she's with those kids 24/7 having baby talk. Love to just talk to an adult and have a good conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. If she calls this number, will she be able to get a hold of you, Tom?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yep.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
So that was Joshua Atwood, ATWOOD. If you go on Give Send Go, just type in Joshua Atwood, and his Give Send Go should come up. But his inmate number is 389632. And he's Washington, D.C., Gulag, Joshua Lee Atwood. And he has the same birthday as me, August 17th, so we gotta say happy birthday to him in a couple weeks. He'll be 33, I'll be 66, so he's double my age. Exactly. When they talk about all the old people, that's me. Well, that's actually, we're all in our 60s, so
Hey, it's
it's a number.
all it is. It's all it is.
Sometimes you feel older than you really need to. Yep.
So this call to action is really on their minds.
Yeah, they're very concerned about that. So, Maurice, you've put it in the chat multiple times. I don't think we need to repeat it again, but definitely want to call and to make some very serious questions as to why they're doing this and how they're going to be responsible for what happens. So, it just makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, like who was it that James, I think it was, that said that it's the same scenario here in Northern Neck, you know. I mean, we remember the pod designations here in Northern Neck. J-Pod was the place to be, I think, right? Where they wanted to be, but some of the other ones were not cool at all, and they specifically put them there to have that confrontation. Northern Neck Regional Jail, I talked about it last time. I don't think, you guys weren't here. I don't know if you got to hear. So I ran into an individual at one of the recycling and trash collection sites, and we got just talking about what had happened with Trump, the assassination attempt and so on. And one thing led to another in the conversation. I asked him if he was familiar with the J6ers and what they're doing. He says, absolutely. And I told him about how we had our vigils at the Northern Neck Regional Jail and so on. And he knew all about the jail. He was former law enforcement and was asked at one point to come over there and work for them. He turned it down, and he said, I'm so glad I did. That is an awful, awful place. He said he knew exactly who Ted Hall was and didn't have very good things to say about him or a lot of the management, and knew how bad that place is. I mean, people that really know people, from the area that know anyone who's gone through there for whatever the case may be, it's not a nice place. And that's not what a jail is supposed to be, right? A jail is supposed to be just a place that somebody gets put in for minor crimes and it's not supposed to be a place where you're mixed with those kind of nasty murderers and rapists and everything else and gang members.
Hello. This is a prepaid debit call from
Jonathan Pollock.
an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hey, John.
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
We're doing good. How are you doing today?
Oh, doing good. This is Jonathan Pollock calling in.
Yeah.
Heard from you a while.
Yeah. How you been?
Yeah, no, been good, staying busy, on the every night vigil, I guess, doing the anthem. But yeah, doing good. How y'all doing? Y'all been good out there?
Yeah, it was a nice day and beautiful weather. Heard you guys got some rec today. Got to get outside. Is that true?
Yep. It was terrible timing. It was good for everybody else, but it was the one morning we had to go to a preliminary hearing, and we had to go to court.
Oh,
So
you missed
we were
it.
leaving for court when they called indoor rec, and we're like, man, that's terrible timing.
Yeah.
But it was good. Everybody else got to go to rec, so that was good. But that's how it works out sometimes.
So,
Yeah.
was your hearing
I was,
hearing in DC?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It was but we didn't have to go to the courthouse. It was actually they do on the phone. Sometimes they do on the phone over video chat.
okay.
Court. So that's what that was.
So you didn't leave the jail then? You just had to do that.
Right. You just go to another part of the jail, and they have the visit set up, and you sit in front of the screen, and everybody does a little Zoom call. Anyway, we got all that. It's just a scheduling hearing, so we got all that figured out. But anyways, it was good. Still dealing with, they hit us with, which I'm sure y'all have heard of, but dealing with they taking us off of involuntary PC and making it voluntary.
Right.
And so they can put other inmates in here. And all the ones that are on voluntary solitary confinement are the ones they're going to be putting in here, which are the chomos and the rapists and the ones they can't go anywhere else because they get beat up. So they check themselves into PC is how they call it. And so they're trying to, because they say there's not enough room, which really is they're out of staff. They don't have enough people working the jail. They're trying to stick them all in this same pod as we have. So I don't know how they're getting away with that, because it was a court order that gave us this pod and that we were supposed to, because we're high profile and so political, we have to have our own pod, and it's involuntary PC. So it's as soon as you come into the jail, you have to sign this paper and say, you can't go anywhere else but the J6 pod if you're J6er. But now they're saying, no, now we're going to just mix you up. And if you want to be on PC, you're going to have to sign this paper. Otherwise, we're going to put you everywhere. And so it's not good. It's going to cause a lot of problems, especially because there's a lot of guys they could bring in here, like chomos and rapists and stuff, and we're not going to have that. And then it's gonna cause more trouble, because they're probably going to want to, get into fights and things, and then it's going to be making headlines, and get a lot of these guys that are already having a hard time with their cases, make them even worse, and then we'll be on tier management probably, so we'll only be locked down half the day locked down, and the other half is going to be out. All kinds of stuff they're going to start trying to do, and it really just started right after Trump assassination attempt, and how we think that it's kind of a backlash on that, because they're so mad. Because a lot of these guards, they cannot stand Trump, and so it's almost like they want to take it out on us. But it's something that's been going so good this whole time. Now they want to switch it all up and make it a big problem. So, we have to get a hold of everybody we can, get a hold of the marshals and try to make sure we set these people straight, because they're saying, we told them that, and they're saying, it doesn't matter what you do, we're doing it anyways. We don't care about the problems that it's going to make, because we told them, it's not going to work. You can't just stick all this chomos and stuff in a pod with us, because it's going to cause a lot of problems, and it's a safety risk. And they're like, it doesn't matter. We're going to do what we want. So.
Wow.
That's what, So that's what we're dealing with in here right now, and we're wondering how they're going to do it. What are they going to do? Lock us down and then bring them in one at a time, and or if they're going to try to lock us down and then bring them all in at once, or how they're going to do it. But Yeah.
It smells like a setup to
See how
me.
that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like it.
Exactly.
Well, we're gonna make our calls. We're putting that word out for, just like you guys had asked on
Right.
yesterday.
You're gonna have to lock your cells so that nobody goes in.
That's good.
I
Oh,
don't even
right.
think they
No, that's
can,
it. And that's a
can
lot of these people that get checked in is because a lot of times they're thieves. And once they get caught as thieves, they either get beat up or they check themselves in the PC. And so the guys that are checked in already in PC are usually not good because they can't last anywhere else or they're problems. They're trouble people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, we're just gonna mix up the J6 pod with all the dumping grounds of all the guys that can't go anywhere else and put them in here with us. And we're like, that sounds like you're just really thinking this through. That sounds like y'all got a big old plan here, really setting us up.
Right.
So it's not good. We gotta try to nip it in the bud as fast as possible, and with y'all's help, for sure, that'll be awesome if y'all could get a hold of these people and really spread that around. That's what it's going to take to stop them because they seem to be pretty dead set on this is going to happen no matter what we do. But
Any idea
we got a
when?
lot of supporters, good supporters out there that really care about it. So if y'all can get on the phone, that'd be awesome stuff.
We will. One question here from the group is, what's the timing of this? Do you have any idea?
We don't know. They brought this to us yesterday, and they said it can happen at any time. And so I guess they've already finalized all this stuff and didn't tell us anything about it. And then they brought in the papers yesterday. It's like, all right, now y'all are involuntary PC. So now, if you want to go to the general population, go ahead and sign these papers because we're about to fill this place up with just a bunch of random people. And so we're like, what in the heck? How did this even happen? Where did y'all get this from? And I guess they've been trying to plan this for a little bit in the background.
You got the speaker.
But then what we did was when we heard about it, we did a sit-in, which is we all leave the arms and set in the middle, and it's like we're not locking down until we see a white shirt, the head guy, and so we linked the arms in the middle, and they finally brought the head guy and came in here trying to figure out what's going on, and we're like, hey, what is this? They just came in and telling us that they're about to put in all these other PC units into ours, and then the security guard guys that are in charge of ERT, they came to us and they're like, yeah, we've never even heard of that. That's a huge security risk, and we're not going to let that happen. They tried to go over our heads and sneak this in without asking us about it, and so we're going to have to stop it, and we thought it would stop.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
But then they told us that it doesn't matter what your safety concerns are. We're going to do it anyway. And so we're like, well, that don't sound good.
No.
Ain't a lot crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we're going to get right on it.
Well, I'll call
Yes,
and
sir.
email
Thank
tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all again. Y'all are also being out there. And we're trying to keep y'all in touch. And thank y'all again.
All right.
All righty.
God bless you, Jonathan.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
So that was Jonathan Pollock, P-O-L-L-O-C-K, and his inmate number is 388312. And again, if you go to Give, Send, Go, Jonathan Pollock, and maybe if you had some bucks in your pocket, you might want to give some to him. You could always use it. Wow. So everybody got those telephone numbers. It's listed online, and you need it over there.
You go, Larry.
I'll get them, yeah, I don't have a pen, I'll get them.
So one thing it would be nice to do here, I guess I'm going to start trying to work on that from now on, is to celebrate the ones that get out. Because
Yes.
there are people getting out. John Strand is one. If anybody know who John Strand is, he was accompanying Simone Gold. He was
okay.
there in I'm not sure what the relationship, whether he was, security or what, but so Simone Gold pled guilty and still ended up 3 months in jail. John Strand pled not guilty for this being in the same place as Simone Gold was. He decided not to plead guilty, and he ended up getting 36 or more months. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's
There's
Price
gotta
you
be
pay
more
for
to it
telling
than
the
that.
truth, right?
Yeah.
That's broken. Just like everything else.
well. One thing we didn't talk about is the recent protest this week with the Netanyahu on Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? Wasn't that Wednesday or Thursday? And 3 or 4 people were arrested for assaulting police officers, and guess what?
Nothing happened?
They're already out.
They're out.
Burn the flag,
Yeah, so,
paint statues.
apparently they were taking up quite a bit of real estate because at one point, there was live video of them sitting in there in the center of underneath the dome of the Capitol, chanting their stuff, and they totally filled it up. Totally filled it up. Never mind that Congress is trying to hold sessions on budgets. But, just saying. Then they were also over at Union Station. There was a couple fires.
Yeah.
I saw a report saying that there was a total of 35 arrests, all of whom were released. Amazing how that hypocrisy works, isn't it? Just amazing.
Releasing maggots and crickets.
Yeah.
Maggots and crickets in the hotel,
Why?
Yeah.
just to make mayhem, just to be
Visible,
stupid.
that's all.
Well, some of them like to call
It might have been lunch.
MAGA maggots online. You've probably seen that before.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they do. They refer to those that believe in MAGA as maggots.
I don't believe in MAGA, I believe in take our country back. I don't want to make it great, I just want my country back. I want all the lunatics gone.
That's going to be a tall order. We're going to have to
It
spend
is
a
a
few
tall
years
order,
on
we're gonna
that.
have to get to work.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's going to take a while. Yeah, it is lunacy and hypocrisy. Here we are with a large crowd of protesters with a legitimate grievance on January 6th, following the constitutional process. Then we get a bunch of these college students that have never had a hard day in their life whining about something that they think they know about, but if you ask them where the river and the sea is, they don't know which river or what sea we're talking about. So, what's going on with that?
It's called indoctrination instead of teaching.
Uh-huh. It is, but wait a second. Here's a little known secret. The process of education is identical to the process of indoctrination.
Isn't it though?
It is. It's
Through
amazing.
repetition.
Yes. They are identical processes. And the human brain and computers are also identical. They both do exactly what they've been programmed to do. The only question we need to answer is who's doing the programming. It's a true story.
Yeah, I believe it one day.
Yes. There's a lot of things out there that, and I come across these things all the time, so I won't be specific about any one, but there's these little constructs that we've all been walking through our entire lives with, that they're programming.
Yeah, they really don't.
It's like, if you go driving down the road and you hit a little dog, you've got this little tape inside your head that says you need to cry.
That's not true.
Oh, you're heartless.
Cry, rest of your dog.
But you get the idea, though, that there's these certain
There is the human
responses
factor.
that are kind of programmed. Oh yeah, it's okay, if you're gonna cause more damage somewhere else, hit the dog. Yes, but it's kind of funny how some of our automatic responses to things are really something that was programmed into us. Think about it for a second. I'll bet you can come up with one.
I'll have to think on that.
Yeah, I'll bet you can come up with at least one. Although you are kind of unique.
Excuse me, I am. I was gonna say, it's gonna be tough. I do my thing.
So yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's when you can acknowledge that we've been lied to most of our lives, the challenge then becomes, okay, so how do I ferret out the truth from all that mess? It's pretty
Common
tough.
sense. Common sense.
That's the only thing I got going on, and unfortunately, my neighbors don't share in that. They don't have the same common sense that I've got.
I should we have common sense land and non-common sense land. They can have their own little place somewhere else.
New York City's a good spot.
Well,
Yeah.
further away on an island, somewhere, far, far away.
Greenland.
Out of America. How about that? Out of America.
Well, they're not leaving America yet.
I'm not ready to give up on it.
No, not me, them. They keep saying they're gonna leave. Leave. Leave.
They're gonna leave, no.
Oh, they keep saying, they keep threatening.
Well, I know, I always do, yeah.
Post their little signs, not my president, not my president.
You know, we could have used the same signs.
I know, but why stoop to that level?
We shouldn't.
That's
But
third
then
grade level.
It's kind of like when you're in a war, your enemy tries to invent weapons that will hurt himself. And the reason that is because he knows that if it would work against him, it'll work against
That's
you.
true.
So it's probably a good idea to use his weapons against him. He's put a lot of effort into it. You might as well. So, yeah, we can call it stooping to their level, but in the absence of other more effective weapons, I'll use theirs.
Careful with the weapons.
Verbal weapons.
Yeah, clarify, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we got 10 minutes.
What happened, there was a J6 committee one time in DC, it was started by Democrats, correct?
Yeah, the select committee, right?
Okay, the Republicans supposed to come back and semi-form one or something and counteract that, but nothing happened, and so nothing being done.
Well, I mean, there's the original J6 Select Committee, which was basically all Democrats and
Right.
two rhinos.
Yeah.
The lynch mob.
Yeah,
Talking
so
about the lynch mob. Okay.
well, they did their narrative. They had their people come up and testify. They had the
Lie.
crying cops, talking about how awful it was and how
Emotion.
traumatized they are and all that kind of stuff. And flat out lied, yes.
Yeah, they
about
flat
mental
out lied.
and withheld evidence. And then that was a TV production. They had a Hollywood producer. They literally had a
That's right,
Hollywood
yeah.
producer
That's right.
come in and put it together, and they did it in prime time because they wanted the American people to see it.
That's right, yeah.
See, so that was their whole narrative. But they actually got rid of some of the evidence. So
Imagine that.
yeah, there's questions about. I think some of it's been recovered, or much of it can be recovered. So Maurice is shaking his head. So.
Let's hope so. That would be glorious.
Every government entity that's paid for with federal tax dollars has to have a data protection plan, a continuity of operations plan, if you will. And part of that plan includes, where do you store your data when it's backed up?
Cloud.
The average, no. But the average worker bee, all the way up through Congress, has no idea where that other separate geographic location is where their data is backed up to. They don't. Except there was one place a few years ago in Tennessee that got blown up. That was one of them. But anyhow, there's a lot of them, and they're usually not really close by Washington, D.C. So that data gets shipped out over a network to at one or more other places for disaster recovery.
Okay.
So if it was recorded, the process
It's
of
out
shipping
there
it out was
somewhere.
automated. And so like January 6th, by the time the sun came up on January 7th.
They knew everything.
That
they
stuff
wanted
was
to.
already shipped out. So it was retained locally, it was duplicated out to other sites. So that's just standard operational procedure. That's not some big dark secret or anything like that. That's just SOP. And so, yeah, we deleted it all. Probably not. Probably not.
So who's gonna recover it?
These are the ones that I sent.
Yeah.
I sent those to.
It's out there so that both the data and the applications, everything can
So,
be
yeah.
brought back with minimal loss.
All these guys, hopefully they'll bring that up. We'll talk to them. And maybe there's more.
Every month you send them to the same.
And they wouldn't know this, these people in the government, they're that high up, wouldn't know this? That their information is like automatically backed up? Or they don't take precautions so they can't be backed up? I mean, surely something.
You should know.
Well,
no.
Exactly.
You can imagine a congressman usually has no technical background. It's the sysadmins that make it happen.
Okay, well, if I were gonna cheat, I'd make sure there's no way of following my trail.
Yeah.
These people are stupid.
Okay.
They proved it.
Yeah.
Been proven.
You know, I think they know that if you give anything enough time in Washington DC, people forget about it. And they figured that was going to be the case with January 6th, and that these men would all be forgotten, but they're not. And that's the difference here, I think, in this whole
It's a
event.
huge difference. The Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee have both, through different angles, been digging back into the whole J6 thing. So that part's kind of interesting. You know, it's kind of cool, maybe I'm just kind of a freak or something, but the past several times that I've gotten wrapped up in watching video of Congress or the Senate doing something, yeah, the discussions can be kind of dry until you start to see the sparring that goes on. I was watching a congressman from Pennsylvania. The guy was a freaking hero. He was calling out everybody. We're talking about they're just starting out trying to figure out what the next budget's going to be. And this guy's talking about, we need to cut $2 million from this committee. We need to cut another $1.5 million from this committee. Then there's this congressman from Tennessee. Fleischman is his name. He sounds like a Democrat. I urge people to vote against this other guy's proposal. And of course they would vote against the proposal. And this guy's just saying, look, I'm just trying to make the budget a little bit smaller and more efficient here. You people are fighting me, and you're all Republicans. So it's like, what is the difference on the Hill? What is the true difference between a Republican and a Democrat? I'm having a hard time figuring it out anymore. It's real hard. So I'm an American.
Part of the swamp. The swamp continues to
Yeah.
enlarge, unfortunately.
Well, I hope when Trump gets in there, he'll
Oh,
truly clean the swamp this
Oh,
time.
he
He
gonna
said he
clean
was
house
going
real
to,
good.
but he didn't. He didn't clean that swamp. They're still wiggling about. He needs to get rid of them.
We're wiggling all around him.
Nah.
That's the other thing.
He jumped into
A viper's
Yeah,
pit.
yeah.
Yes, he did. A viper's pit.
a viper's pit. Yes, he did.
Well, now we know what they are. Now
Well,
it's destroyed.
and you know, the people I worked with, none of them, I mean, if you just work with them, they didn't have a mean or vicious bone in their bodies. They just believed one particular way. I disagreed with them, but they believed one particular way. Why did they believe one particular way? They had six-figure incomes that they were guaranteed to get pay raises on, and they could, the organization they worked for could increase their budget at will.
Right.
At will. And so that's good for them, because they're buying their Mercedes Benzes,
That's
they're
right.
taking their kids to private school and all of that. So why would they vote against their own best interest?
They wouldn't, that's how they're gonna be separated totally. I don't know how.
That's exactly what was going on. The
Well-
other part is that they had to report to Congress, and the process for that is so weird. You know, you got, down on the ground, you got the people that are actually spending the money.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got people that are managing the people that are spending the money. And then you go higher up and you got the people that are managing the people that are managing the people that are spending the money.
Yeah.
And in spite of the fact that the people that are managing the people that are managing the people that are managing the people that are spending the money, they've got the authority to tell the people how to spend the money. They don't, and when they try, they're wrong. And so every month they ask for a report from the people that are spending the money. It doesn't look good on me, so I'm going to tell this other guy that's managing me, because I'm managing the people that are spending money, what they really said so that I look good.
Right.
And then that gets repeated all the way up the food chain until it finally gets to Congress. And by the time it gets to Congress, it's complete fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So how they can make a budget is beyond me. I have no idea how, it's all fantasy. There's just no way that they're getting.
Based on false
It's-
information,
Well,
exactly.
and based on data points that have been manipulated to satisfy somebody's ego.
A pocketbook.
Yeah, it's just awful the way it works. So it's inherently bad, and when you artificially inflate the personnel level, the population of employees in the world's largest employer, that's a really good way to swing hearts and minds to vote one particular way.
Isn't it though?
Heard a really brilliant suggestion the other day. It came from one of my favorite senators.
You gotta name them, man.
I know it, man. Don't get old, it leaves marks. They were talking about it on
Oh,
Is that time?
2 minutes.
Oh, Lord, I'm getting too old, I can't even move.
This is a prepaid call from
Dominic Fox.
Dominic.
an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To receive your current balance 8 cents. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Hey, Dominic.
Hey,
Hi, Dominic.
Hey, good evening, Northern Neck Patriots and America. This is Dominic Fox calling you live from the Patriot Pod here in Unit C3B in the DC Department of Corrections. I'm going to be carrying you guys through the national anthem tonight, so I think we've got another minute or two, but I wanted to call in and start out just by saying hey, and thank you to everybody out there that's watching, listening, and continuing to support us out there. We've also got the what I've been told is the opening ceremony of the Olympics, but it looks like something far different than that. But we'll get into that after the anthem. So,
All right.
how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Wonderful,
All right.
thank you.
If so, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming through broad stripes and bright stars, through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare
You're killing me.
forsake us that star-spangled banner. For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
USA! Wonderful job, fellas. Wonderful job. Fight. You got that right.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Could you hear that?
Yes, we did. It was wonderful.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'll say, so I know you may have noticed the alteration to the end there, but after the incredible, after the experience of watching the cowardly attempt on our President Trump's life 13 days ago today, as you noticed, we have incorporated that incredible fight urging from President Trump into the end of the national anthem, and that's something that, man, it's just, if you don't get goosebumps hearing being a part of that, then you better check your pulse.
Yeah, it's a fact. That is a fact.
Amen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Some passion in the voices there, man.
There's a lot of heart in that one.
Thank you. Absolutely. And, you know, guys, an interesting thing that I'm sure some of the other men have mentioned to you tonight, the voices may sound slightly different in the coming days. We have been told, and I've got to, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's important that everybody knows this, something that has happened over the last 3.5 years, or something that has been a long-standing tradition the last 3.5 years, is that your J6 Patriot family that's in jail behind bars right now, because we're all one big family, some of us are behind bars right now. We have been on our own unit. Now, we've changed and been in different places, but we have always been together. The D.C. Department of Corrections, as of Thursday night, is attempting to change that. We don't know why. We don't know the justification for it, because from what we've been told, this unit and our separation from the rest of the residents, I believe the progressive term for those of us incarcerated at the DCPSC, is congressionally funded. And we're under the control and the care of the U.S. Marshals. For whatever reason now, they're attempting to change our classification from a status of involuntary custody, protective custody, to voluntary protective custody, and then opening up this unit to anybody and everybody. And that's just something that we all have issue with, not because we can't get along with, there's people of every color, creed, religion, multiple languages.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
Yeah, go on.
Did you run out of money?
No.
No, we've still got money. This is what he was talking about. This is the Olympics, opening ceremony of the Olympics. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, I saw the one yesterday.
Let me see.
Too.
I didn't see it.
I think so. It's some goofy people. Yeah, it's weird. Very weird. They're
That's our
freaks,
Olympics opening ceremony?
apparently.
Over there in Paris, yeah.
Oh my God, the crazies have gone there too.
But
Oh my
also earlier today.
Like drag queens?
They must be multiplying with their
Yeah,
offspring or
crap.
something.
Yeah.
They burnt, somebody set all the trains on fire.
Well,
They were supposed to be carrying like 800,000 people into Paris.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's the daily commute plus the people that were going to be athletes in the Olympics.
Right.
They didn't get to go. I don't know how that turned out, but that's what I was seeing this morning. God, there's a lot of stuff that goes by my eyeballs in the morning, and I can't believe I absorbed any of it. It's just going that fast.
well, you want to wrap it up? I think we're probably done. Listen,
I think
folks,
we're done.
thanks so much for tuning in. As always, appreciate your support. Spread the call to action, and let's see if we can make a difference on
So
this
do we
one.
call the weekend or Monday is my question.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
When do we start calling?
You like some tomatoes?
Absolutely. I want that eggplant if no one else does. I've eyed that and
You can call 24 hours